How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. This Open Line Friday, 877-973-7425. If you would like to be on the program, you can call in. If you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. You can subscribe to the show notes, get the live stream, all that stuff. By the way, I sincere thank you to the number of you who have actually subscribed to the show notes in the last week. I wasn't really being flippant when I was talking about all the security stuff now I got to go through and pay for, and your subscription actually helps us be able to cover those costs. So thank you to all of you who texted Eric to 33777 and subscribe to the show notes. It's what a weird, wild world. So I joined a golf club. Y'all, being middle age, you get into like World War II and smoking meats and golf, and I have gotten into all of the above. And there's this golf club called In Town Golf in Atlanta, and it's not like an outside golf course. It's all TrackMan simulators. It's fantastic, incredible menu. It's private. You can't get through the front door unless you're a member. So don't get bothered, and it's just great. Although I got to tell you, I have gotten to that point, and I had to like check myself. Normally, I've got people around me to keep me humble, but I've been there now several times. It's like, this is kind of wild. I'm in like my key demo here, surrounded by these people, and no one recognizes me. And last night as I was leaving, some guy came up to me. He says, I've seen you in here like 3 times. We're not supposed to bother each other. I just wanted to tell you, I like your show. It's like, well, I appreciate that very much. Oh, we're not supposed to bother each other. Well, dang it, I just was bothering the people next to me. This husband and wife who were in there hitting golf balls, and the poor wife looked like she's going to murder her husband. And I went up to him and said, y'all are kind of my heroes. My wife and I, we got one more kid at home. The other's in college. We got to find hobbies together. My wife's taken up motorcycles, and I've taken up golf, and neither of us are really interested in taking up the other's hobby. And wife is like, same deal. She decided she would go with golf, but now she wants to murder her husband. It's going to become an obsession, lady. It is. Now, I want to talk to you about something that's not political. It's really not. I'm kind of tired of all the political headlines. I'm kind of talking about people getting shot in violence. And I continue, and I know some of you aren't, and hopefully I can entice you to be just intrigued by this AI building spree that's happening in the country. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that we are in another .com bubble. Do y'all remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s? You had all of these companies that came online and all these .com companies that no longer exist that were advertising on the Super Bowl. I mean, you had Pets.com back in the day, and all the companies that just went out of business. And it was kind of wild to see all of these massive companies that just kind of collapsed. You had 360 Networks, Airspan, Akamai, Alta Vista. Remember Alta Vista, one of the original search engines? Boo.com, an online retailer. The Books A Million transition. CD Now. Not all of them fell out of the way, but a lot of these companies that were just very, very famous and then collapsed. Egghead Software. Remember eToys? Excite, Floors.com, Flooz.com. theglobe.com. Global Crossing was a big one. GeoCities, let's not forget what Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, bought MySpace. There was iVillage. There was Lycos. I'm just running through a list of them, some of the ones they did out. Of course, there was Netscape, very famous of the day. Pets.com went bankrupt in 2000, having rose to sponsor the Super Bowl. Razorfish, Radvision, Register.com. All these companies are this massive bubble. And of course, there was Yahoo back in the day. Yahoo it just exploded and then kind of collapsed, and the name is still around. There's value in the name, but good grief. Some of them stayed, a lot of them didn't. And now we're at the weird turn where this AI build out is happening. So there's a guy near me who will go nameless, who owns a lot of land and lives in a very sleepy bedroom community that is such a sleepy bedroom community. It's one of those places where you can head north on the interstate and take an exit to get off into this community, but you can't continue north. And the reason is because north of this community is Atlanta, and they don't want people moving from Atlanta to the community and exploding the growth, so there's no interstate on-ramp that heads north. And this guy with this land has been trying to sell it forever and hasn't been able to sell it, and decided that he wanted to get planning and zoning to change its designation from, I think, agriculture to industrial, to be able to put an AI data center on the land. And people in that community went nuts. One of the big stories in the local newspaper up there, in the Monroe County Reporter, was he was caught on a trail cam tearing up a sign, allegedly, that was against this AI data center that would have been built. It was a big local scandal in my community. No one wanted this data center except for the people who own the land that are trying to get rid of the land and can't. If I had won the lottery, I would have bought the land. I didn't win the lottery, so I won't buy the land. It's overpriced. Nonetheless, Ellendale, North Dakota has 1,100 people, 2 motels, a Dollar General, a Pentecostal Bible college, and a half-built AI factory that is bigger than 10 Home Depots. Its more than $15 billion price tag is equivalent to a quarter of the state's annual economic output. This in the Wall Street Journal. The artificial intelligence boom has ushered in one of the costliest building sprees in world history. Over the past 3 years, leading tech firms have committed more towards AI data centers, plus chips and energy, than it costs to build the interstate highway system over 4 decades when adjusted for inflation. AI proponents call it the Industrial Revolution, and there's just one problem. No one's sure how it will get their investment back or when. The building rush is speculative. That technology will rapidly improve, transform the economy, and start producing steady profits. I hope we don't take 50 years, says the CEO of Microsoft. Yeah, well, we're all investing as if it's not going to take 50 years, says Mark Zuckerberg in response, who surmised at a recent White House dinner the company's U.S. spending through 2028 was probably going to be something like $800 or $600 billion. Silicon Valley watchers worry the enthusiasm for AI has turned into a bubble that has increasingly loud echoes of the one from the late 90s. Yes. Then telecom companies spent over $100 billion blanketing the country with fiber optic cables on the belief the internet's growth would be so explosive most any investment was justified. The result was a massive overbuilding that made telecom the hardest hit sector in the dot-com bubble. Industry giants toppled like dominoes. Global Crossing, WorldCom, 360 Networks, ones I've just mentioned. Today, the typically dull world of chips and data centers has become a raging multi-hundred billion dollar battleground where Silicon Valley giants one-up each other with spending commitments and sci-fi names. I have to tell you something. I have used, as I have said, all of these AI engines. I've used Claude. I've used Perplexity. I've used ChatGPT. I've used Grok. They all suck eventually. People are mesmerized by AI right now because of all the stuff it can do. But if you use it long enough, it starts to break down, and no one knows why. Literally, nobody has any idea why. The longer you use an AI system, the more it wants to give you what it thinks you want as opposed to the truth. In fact, I was talking to a guy who is a dear friend of mine, who is a venture capitalist, who was telling me that the greatest use of AI has not been to replace employees, but to make their employees more efficient so they can take on more work. And where AI is very good is when it's doing numbers things, manipulating spreadsheets and assessing data. But over time, it too begins to break down. Now, side note, there's actually some really compelling research out there now among college kids who have been using ChatGPT since high school. It's been around a lot longer than you may think. And here's the weird and crazy part. The kids who have now begun to regularly rely on AI are the ones who are the worst at critical thinking. My personal pet theory is that AI is not making smart people stupid. It's making stupid people seem smart. And when they get off the AI, suddenly people realize they're stupid. But there are these massive AI facilities being built around the country now. And by the way, they generate a ton of heat and a ton of noise. They consume a lot of power. And no one is really getting their money out of it. It just seems very weird, the amount of money these companies are spending. It's like a gold rush, and we're not going to see it. David Kahn, a partner at venture capital firm Sequoia, estimates that the money invested in AI infrastructure in 2023 and 24 alone requires consumers and companies to buy roughly $800 billion in AI products over the life of these chips and data centers to produce a good investment return. Analysts believe most AI processors have a useful life of between 3 and 5 years. Think about that. This week, consultants at Bain & Company estimated the wave of AI infrastructure spending will require $2 trillion in annual AI revenue by 2030. By comparison, that's more than the combined 2024 revenue of Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, which is Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and NVIDIA, and more than 5 times the size of the entire global subscription software market. Morgan Stanley estimates that last year, there was around $45 billion of revenue for AI products. The sector makes money from a combination of subscription fees for chatbots such as ChatGPT and money paid to use these companies' data centers. Have you all seen all the ads for Watson? IBM's Watson. What can Watson do for you? It's always seemed like a marketing ploy, and I'm told it more and less is, but it's the original IBM AI. Watson was going to be some brilliant way to solve things and make things work. IBM has never really been able to do much with it. We are in an economic bubble right now with AI, and that bubble is on the verge of bursting, I'm afraid. And all of these data centers, or many of them, I think we're probably going to be empty within 10 years. We don't have enough power in the grid to supply them. There's not enough demand for them. And the companies that are using them, they're not seeing a rate of return on them. Think about this, that you're going to need to be spending $2 trillion within the next 5 years to be able to get the money back on building these data centers. And the companies that are using AI right now are not seeing a return on the investment. They see no reason to continue using AI. We're fearful of all the jobs that are going to be lost and everything else. And there's some incredible applications with AI. But overall, it's not panning out. People are falling for the spin. The reality is that we are not seeing it. And I do believe it's going to get better and better and better. I do believe it is. I just have a hard time believing it's going to get good enough for these companies that are building these massive data centers to make their money back. Here's my one request. If there's anyone in government listening to me today, please don't bail them out. Please do not decide that ChatGPT or these others are too big to fail. Let them fail. Let them go bankrupt. Let the creative destruction of the marketplace take effect. and things will sort themselves out better than if the government comes along and tries to fix it. Please, we are headed towards something. These people and here's the other weird thing. So this company, Ellendale, North Dakota, once this place is built, there aren't going to be a lot of employees. The AI data center is largely self-sustaining. So you're getting these massive facilities built in rural parts of the country using all the excess power on the power grid, and there aren't going to create a lot of jobs either. Spending a lot of money, very few jobs. We are in a bubble, and you can start to see it from a mile away. Hello there, it's Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425, an open line Friday. Let's get to calls. Let's begin with Joe. You're up first, Joe. Welcome. Joe, you there? Well, you know what, Joe? I'm going to put you on hold because I suspect you're there, but we had a software issue here a little while ago, and so let's double check these when we come back from commercial break. Sorry, y'all, we got an update in our call screening software system like 5 minutes before the show started. So let's make sure that's the issue here before we hang up on Joe. We'll see if he's there when we come back. When I come back as well, I have mentioned to you guys the Mississippi Miracle. You know the Mississippi Miracle, they're calling it. Mississippi is suddenly leading the nation in reading. Yes, Mississippi is leading the nation in reading. And, well, it's not that students in Mississippi are just improving. It's that students in Mississippi are genuinely exploding in their ability to read. It really is a miracle what they're doing. And other states, progressive states, have been dismissive of it because it's Mississippi. And it turns out it's not because. Mississippi's not cooking the data, y'all. There's something really happening in Mississippi and Louisiana and Alabama and Tennessee. And I want to get to that, but I'll take your phone calls when we come back. We'll sort out this call screening situation. 877-973-7425. First, let me tell you about AFP, Americans for Prosperity. They would love to have you engage with them and take a step for freedom in your community. You can go to afpvolunteer.com to find out more, afpvolunteer.com. Americans for Prosperity is committed to advancing freedom in the country, limited government. They want you on board. And right now, what they're trying to do is trying to commit Americans to take just one step for freedom in their community. And if 250,000 people do the same thing, then they'll be able to engage 250,000 Americans taking a step for freedom, and it's just going to work. AFPvolunteer.com is what you want to do, afpvolunteer.com, and you'll be able to go sign up with AFP. You'll have just a remarkable experience getting to know other people in your community committed to freedom, and we will dramatically improve this country. AFPvolunteer.com. AFPvolunteer.com is where you want to go. Your phone calls when we come back, and the Mississippi Miracle that is real. All right, I think we got this phone situation sorted out. It is Eric Erickson and an open line Friday, and the phone number is 877-973-7425. Joe's been waiting patiently. Joe, welcome to the Eric Erickson Show. How are you?
Oh, thanks, man. I'm doing great, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I think most conservatives, or a lot of conservatives anyway, have kind of a natural mistrust of government and authority, but I think with some people that has kind of metastasized into like a paranoia that makes them very susceptible to believing all kinds of weird conspiracy stuff. And I'm seeing this come out with the Charlie Kirk killing, and I'm just wondering, is the best strategy just to hope that people who believe this is a psyop or some, deep conspiracy, is the best strategy just to ignore these people, or should it be addressed head on? Or from people like you who have an audience. I don't know how you deal with it. It just this is creeping in, not just social media, but people who I'm talking to in real life, and it's kind of disturbing. So how do you respond to this stuff?
I got to tell you, you've got to be measured in your response, because first of all, what you can do and what I have to do, what I have to remind myself is you can go down rabbit holes yourself trying to respond to these people, and you're just, in most cases, wasting your time. The best way to respond is if you have an actual, meaningful, real relationship with the person, maybe consider having a conversation with them. If it's just some person you follow on social media and they're not your real life friend, you wouldn't invite over to your house, I'd ignore it and not make eye contact with it, because I got a lot of people who I consider friends, but I've never met them in real life. We interact constantly on a regular basis on social media. We may text message each other. We hadn't met in person. We hadn't grabbed a beer together, but I still consider them a friend. We talk all the time, and I try not to make eye contact when they go down these crazy rabbit holes. But the guys that I know that are real friends, that we will go to a Braves game or have a cigar or something, those are the ones that I'll sit down with and just say, listen, I think you're wrong. Here's why. And we can agree to disagree because we have that relationship.
Because there are so many levels of plausibility that you can examine and you can tell somebody about, that where it just kind of destroys some of these weird conspiracies. And I guess you're right, because, people want to believe it. They're going to believe it. I think that there are people who they just have a mindset of, well, the government lied about this, so they must be lying about that. And that's really as far as their brains could take them. And, you really just can't get through to those people.
No, you really can't. And listen, there are some people who they feel safe in conspiracy because the world, we as human beings, we try to either simplify the complex or complicate the simple. It's how we process things. And it gives them a focus for their paranoia and for it makes them feel like they're in control somewhat, because they can understand this big conspiracy, and it gives them a focus for their paranoia and uncertainty. And there's really no way you're going to be able to talk your way around that. No, you're not. In fact, let me read you this. And Joe, thanks for being patient. Let me read you this. And let me encourage any of you, if you can ever find a copy of G.K. Chesterton's Orthodoxy. The madman's explanation of a thing is always complete, and often, in a purely rational sense, satisfactory. Or, to speak more strictly, the insane explanation, if not conclusive, is at least unanswerable. This may be observed especially in the 2 or 3 commonest kinds of madness. If a man says, for instance, that men have a conspiracy against him, you cannot dispute it, except by saying that all the men deny that they are conspirators, which is exactly what conspirators would do. His explanation covers the facts as much as yours. Or if a man says he's the rightful king of England, it is no complete answer to say that the existing authorities call him mad, for if he were king of England, that might be the wisest thing for the existing authorities to do. Or if a man says that he is Jesus Christ, it is no answer to tell him that the world denies his divinity, for the world denies Christ's. Nevertheless, he's wrong, but if we attempt to trace his error in exact terms, we shall not find it quite as easy as we have supposed. Perhaps the nearest we can get to expressing it is to say this, that his mind moves in a perfect but narrow circle. A small circle is quite as infinite as a large circle, but though it is quite as infinite, it is not as large. In the same way, the insane explanation is quite as complete as the sane one, but is not so large. A bullet is quite as, a bullet is quite as round as the world, but it is not the world. There is no such thing as a narrow universality. There is such a thing as a small and cramped eternity. You may see it in many modern religions. Now, speaking externally and empirically, we may say that the strongest and most unmistakable mark of a madness is this combination between a logical completeness and a spiritual contraction. The lunatic's theory explains a large number of things, but it does not explain them in a large way. I mean that if you or I were dealing with a mind that was growing morbid, we should be chiefly concerned not so much to give it arguments as to give it air, to convince it that there was something cleaner and cooler outside the suffocation of a single argument. Suppose, for instance, it were the first case that I took as typical. Suppose it were the case of a man who accused everybody of conspiring against him. If we could express our deepest feelings of protest and appeal against this obsession, I suppose we should say something like, "Oh, I admit that you have your case and have it by heart, and that many things do fit into other things as you say. I admit that your explanation explains a great deal, but what a great deal it leaves out. And are there no other stories in the world except yours? And are all men busy with your business? Suppose we grant the details. Perhaps when the man in the street did not seem to see you, it was only his cunning. Perhaps when the policeman asked you your name, it was only because he knew it already. But how much happier you would be if you only knew that these people cared nothing about you. How much larger your life would be if yourself could become smaller in it. If you could really look at other men with common curiosity and pleasure. If you could see them walking as they are in their sunny selfishness and their virile indifference. You would begin to be interested in them because they were not interested in you. You would break out of this tiny and tawdry theater in which your own little plot is always being played, and you would find yourself upon a freer sky in a street full of splendid strangers. Or suppose it was the second case of madness, that of a man who claimed the crown. Your impulse would be to answer, "All right, perhaps you know that you are the King of England, but why do you care? Make one magnificent effort and you will be a human being and look down on all the kings of the earth." Or it might be the third case, the madman who calls himself Christ. If we said what we felt, we should say, "So you are the creator and redeemer of the world. But what a small world it must be. What a little heaven you must inhabit, with angels no bigger than butterflies. How sad it would be to be God and an inadequate God. Is there really no life fuller and no love more marvelous than yours? And is it really in your small and painful pity that all flesh must put its faith? How much happier you would be, how much more of you there would be, if the hammer of a higher God could smash your small cosmos, scattering the stars like spangles and leave you in the open, free like other men, to look up as well as down." And it must be remembered that the most purely practical science does not take this view of mental evil. It does not seek to argue with it like a hearsay or heresy, but simply to snap it like a spell. Neither modern science nor ancient religion believes in complete free thought. Now, what he's basically saying here is that the people who believe in conspiracies tend to believe themselves the center of the universe. And they tend to simplify the complex because they consider themselves rational and smart, and yet they cannot rationalize the complex. And they tend to complicate the simple because in their ego, there must be more than there is. And if you can try to get them outside their ego, you might be able to get them outside the conspiracy. It's a great read, actually. I'm not going to continue reading on, but it goes on for quite a while on the madman and his experience as quite a successful reasoner. That is, the conspiracy theorist is quite a successful reasoner. They can connect all the dots that no one else can see and are convinced of their success in connecting the dots because of their ego. Get them outside their ego, and you can get them outside the conspiracy theory, which is why you'll fail with Candace Owens, because there's no way to get that woman outside her ego. Jim in Springfield, Ohio, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Eric. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate you, and thank you for coming to Dayton. I guess it was last week.
Yeah, it was last week, and I didn't get an event scheduled there. I actually had to be in Columbus, but did the show in Dayton. But I plan on coming back and doing an event, and I'll let you know when I do.
Well, I appreciate that, and don't always agree, but I'm going to tell you what, I leave your show always more informed. You're a true gentleman. I appreciate
Thank you.
And wanted to just let you know, put a smile on your face. I'm in Springfield, of course, and our BMV in the southern part of Clark County closed yesterday, and that actually sits kind of in what we call Little Haiti, and it involves apparently a lot of fraud in regards to the issues of licenses, instruction permits, renewals, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't have a BMV on the southern part of the county. They forced the deputy registrar to resign, and I went in there and got my real ID in April. It's on my side of town when I'm there, and that's where all the Haitians go to get their licenses. And just an update on Springfield. I can tell you ICE is in, and they're also in Dayton, and the work permits they're ending. They're pretty much flooding the zone in the apartment complexes and the housing. So along with these benefits that are ending, state benefits that are ending, but hopefully it won't be long. It's been an awful experience for locals for 2 years.
So Jim, it's funny you say that, because when I was in Dayton on Friday, I was talking to one of the guys at WHIO, and he was saying the same thing, that the work permits expire shortly and that ICE is already massing in the area ready to deport everybody once the work permits expire, and that people are starting to leave as a result. In anticipation, they're trying to get out before ICE rounds them up, which isn't a bad way to do it.
Yes, I can see a difference. I'm a retired administrator, teacher, and coach. I do some gig work like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, et cetera. And they pretty much took all that over, and I've seen a big difference in the numbers. I hardly see them out anymore doing that. And then I was told that why this work permit situation, and some of the plants like Dole, the major plants and stuff, are laying them off or not hiring them because they know they're going to have to leave. They're kind of ICE is kind of focusing in on the apartment complexes and the housing situation and finding people that are not supposed to be there. So I don't wish bad on anybody. We just got overwhelmed, and when you see everybody with the grocery carts full in Walmart and free housing and 800 credit scores and free insurance and new cars, it just caused a lot of division in the community. It's certainly not a racial thing.
Right.
And it's just going to be better when the governor and the mayor just didn't make the right decisions. And so it's just time for everybody to move on. But I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you very much.
Jim, I appreciate the update there. I knew those work permits were coming up and that ICE was moving in. And, also interesting on people at the DMV just handing out the IDs to the Haitians. This is becoming a big thing down in Florida, where there have now been 2 wrecks that have led to fatalities in Florida, where it was California that had issued licenses to illegal immigrants. And the illegal immigrants then went to Florida and caused wrecks that cost people lives. And Florida, there are federal laws on state recognition of things like driver's licenses, and Florida's like, we're not going to keep living like this. And DeSantis is picking a fight on it, which he deserves to do. When you got residents of your state dying at the hands of illegal aliens who got their driver's licenses in other states, that's a real problem and a breakdown in federalism in the country. And that somebody in Ohio was attempting to do this. Glad they shut that down. The busiest airport on planet Earth is Two Dead Mayors International Airport, located in Atlanta, Georgia. And it is about to lose $57 million. That's right. Hartsfield-Jackson Two Dead Mayors International Airport in Atlanta, Georgia is about to lose $57 million in federal grants. Why? Because the city of Atlanta is refusing to get rid of DEI language in its projects. WSB-TV, Channel 2 in Atlanta reports the FAA wants the city to sign new grant language disavowing diversity, equity, and inclusion programs to get the funding. The city has refused. The airport planned to use the grant money to replace existing taxiway pavement, renovate restrooms, and to lower airport emissions. More than $37 million of the $57 million will be permanently lost. The FAA says the airport could still get the remaining $19 million if it agrees to the new grant language next fiscal year. So the city of Atlanta, which runs the world's busiest airport, would rather promote diversity, equity, and inclusion than get money to upgrade its airport from the federal government. The priorities of progressives: DEI over no potholes on the runway. Just fascinating. Now, the city says, well, federal funds make up less than 10% of the total capital program. Okay, but you're still out $57 million that you are going to use to upgrade your runways and taxiways and renovate the bathrooms in the airport. So all of you going through Two Dead Mayors International Airport on your way to heaven or hell, when you stop to use the bathroom and it's a mess, I want you to think about the messy bathroom and think that the city of Atlanta decided diversity, equity, and inclusion was more important than fixing that bathroom that you're standing in. The priorities of progressives never cease to amaze. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm is a brilliant little air purifier that wipes out odors. It generates ozone. And ozone, when it touches odor particles, which are ionized particles of the air, when it touches odors, it eliminates them. Ozone eliminates odors. It's been well proven for a very long time. Ozone eliminates odors. And the Eden Pure Thunderstorm is a very small device. You can plug it into the wall or plug it in with a USB cord, and it generates ozone, and it wipes out odors, litter box odors, smoke odors, pet odors, wet dog odors, frying shrimp in the kitchen odors, musty odors. I have used it a number of times in hotel rooms when either the people next door or the prior people in the room had smoked, or in rental cars. You can plug it up with a USB cord in a rental car. I've used it in my house. Friends buy them and use them. Everybody says they just work great. I use it. I don't use it as an air purifier, and I don't keep it running all the time because of the ozone. But I use it to wipe out odors, and boy, does it work. EdenPureDeals.com is the website you go to. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3, EdenPureDeals.com. ERIC3 is the discount code. You get 3 of them, you save $200. You get 3 of them for less than $200.